In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to create a simple case in CaseWORTH, then share the details with the adjuster and negotiate a settlement. We'll also negotiate with some medical providers and complete the case by printing a settlement statement ready for the client's signature. Finally, we'll take a look at the CaseWORTH Future Calculator. If you have an idea what the case might be worth, then you can put an initial demand amount here, or you can leave it blank. Assuming a 33% fee, we start by putting in this case, the minimum information, just the claimant's name and the case name, basically Joe Blow versus Black Sky Insurance. To enter medical expenses, we start at the top by entering the medical providers. In this case, we have a list of global providers that are available from each of your cases. As you add one provider to one case, that provider is available in the future to your other cases. Of course, you can always add additional providers anytime you need. So we'll start by putting in ABC Ambulance, a trip to the emergency room, for $493.14. Then at St. John's Hospital, Dr. Lawrence Christopher did some x-rays and some outpatient treatment for $936.17. Then Tad's Pharmacy, our client had to take over a period of 3 months 163 narcotic pain pills for $571.35. And finally, Blackwell and Finch, the physical therapists, he had 20 PT visits at $150 each for a total of $3,000. Now, if we wanted to, we could call out additional detail about any of these medical providers, showing individual service dates and whether or not they were pharmaceutical treatment or diagnostic. For example, rather than rolling all the 20 PT visits into one line item, we could have called out each individual PT visit, and then CaseWORTH would have created a medical treatment timeline for us. As far as subrogation payments are concerned, we have a list of subrogation sources. The claimant will always be there, but we're going to go in and add Medicare. We can add other subrogation sources here, like Blue Cross, for example, to the case. Let's say that on St. John's Hospital, for this x-ray and outpatient statement, we're going to, down here at the bottom, add a payment by Medicare for $500. And then we're going to add another payment from Medicare, and this payment is going to be actually an adjustment because Medicare doesn't pay as much on x-rays as St. John's Hospital charged in this case. We just click the adjustment checkbox here, and the dollar amount is stricken through, showing that Medicare will never be paid that amount, but the payment still applies to the doctor. To track past earnings, we start by entering an income source, in this case Walmart. And then in the income builder screen, we're going to say that this particular entry was lost earnings in a periodic amount, say 1 month of lost earnings from 10/12 to 11/12. And that was an hourly, and the cost for that was $935. And he missed 141 hours during that period. Now we can click the Add to Lost Earnings, and what it does is takes the calculator amount and puts it in the list at the bottom. We can continue to enter additional periods of lost income until we've documented all of the client's lost work. After clicking Finish in the new Case Wizard, we're taken to the settlement calculator and see that in less than 5 minutes we've completed all the data entry work required for this simple case. Now I'll show you the benefits CaseWORTH offers in the negotiation and settlement phase. One of the reports is the damage package. The damage package allows us to show the details we care to share with the opposing party. In this case, we're going to turn off everything about the case except for damage summary, medical expenses, and past earnings. We also get to choose the level of detail we share with the opposing party. I'm going to show the minimum detail on medical expenses and the maximum detail on on damage summary, and I'm going to show the maximum detail on medical expenses and past earnings. The damage package report damage summary page shows that our total damages in the case are $6,319 with $5,000 in medicals and $1,300 in past earnings. The next page of the report shows the detail of those medicals. You can see Lawrence Christopher at St. John's Hospital had x-rays and outpatient treatment for $936, Tad's Pharmacy, ABC Ambulance, Blackwell and Finch, with the total of all medical expenses at the top. Remember, we could have chosen to include additional details about each individual medical provider and the service dates that they worked on our client if the case warranted that level of detail. And finally, we see the lost income, again with Walmart. We see 141 hours missed at $9.35 an hour for a total of $13.18. This can be printed to paper, or you can click this button to send the report to an Adobe Acrobat document, an Excel spreadsheet, or a Word document. That way you can email it straight over to the insurance adjuster. Back in the CaseWORTH screen, we see on the Damage Summary tab $6,319 in total damages, and you can see that there's $5,000 in meds, $1,300 in lost earnings, and you can drill in and see the details of the breakdown for each medical provider. So let's take a look at the settlement calculator. In this case, the claimant has said he'd be really happy if he could get $5,000 in his pocket. Well, to get a $5,000 net for the claimant, you will have to get a $14,796 settlement. So, based on that, if we put in $14,800, then we see immediately in the actual settlement breakdown, we see the settlement amount, our firm's fee of 33%, there were no firm expenses in this case, medical expenses that have to be paid out, the subro that's due to Medicare in this case, and then finally the firm's net and the client's net. $5,000, everyone's happy. Unfortunately, the opposing party, the insurance adjuster, doesn't agree with our plan. So on 11/15, he comes back and makes a counteroffer of $13,000, and frankly, you feel pretty fortunate to get it, and you know he's not going to move. At $13,000, we see that our firm is now netting $4,300 and our client is netting $3,800. Not enough for the client and also out of proportion with the firm's net. So this is when we can begin to work in the what-if calculator to see what we can do to try to work that out. We see that the claimant net is about $1,200 short of where he'd like to be. So if we look at our medical expenses due, if we could negotiate that down to $3,100, then that would put everything back where it wants to be. So let's go take a look at the expenses and liens due. This is a breakdown of what's due to all medical providers and what's due to all subrogation sources. ABC Ambulance Service, let's say that they agreed to negotiate their bill down to 50%. Then we have Lawrence Christopher at St. John's. He billed $936. He's already been paid $636. He's only owed $300. And let's say that in this case the client didn't like that guy and he might want to sue him too. So he says, do not pay Lawrence Christopher. If we come back over here, we see that now we're going to pay out $3,817 in meds and still about $500 in subro. So we didn't quite make our $3,100 that we were hoping for. Since we're so close here, you may just want to take the $700 out of your pocket, bringing this down to $3,650. That puts the client where he wants to be. You get a decent fee and get to close out on the case. Notice the $3,650 shows that you dropped your fee from 33% to 28%. So we're ready to print a settlement statement. Next thing we do is come up here, hit Reports, Settlement Statement, and we see that to our claimant from the Smart, Quick, and Good law firm, we have a settlement of $13,000. We have an attorney's fee here of $3,650, and this is where you're going to get your highlighter out and highlight that right there and say, see, I cut my fee a little bit to help you out because I'm such a good guy. Then we have no firm expenses. And then here you can see that ABC Ambulance Service, your attorney negotiated a discount for you of 50%. Once again, the highlighter. And then finally you see that Lawrence Christopher, the claimant, specifically requested that that doctor not be paid, and he has to initial here to accept responsibility for taking care of that bill. Then we see that subrogation comes out, and we see the total remaining to the client. On the next page, we have some pretty standard verbiage about being done with this case and happy with his settlement and responsible for anything that's still not paid, and everybody signs and everybody's happy. You can save the CaseWORTH file to the client's folder like any word processing document. You can also attach the CaseWORTH file to your practice management software, like Time Matters, Amicus, Needles, and so on, so the damage and settlement details are always available at your fingertips. In only 10 minutes, we've entered all the information required to build a simple case. We shared the details with the adjuster in an easy-to-read report and negotiated a settlement amount. We then worked to negotiate with the medical providers to maximize the client's net and produced a professional settlement statement ready for signature. I realize this won't happen in a case this size, but I want to show you an example of how the future calculators work while we're here. For argument's sake, let's say our client won't be able to work the remaining 11 years he has till retirement. We start by entering his income source, again Walmart. Then starting in 2006, he yearly loses $28,000. He loses that for, again, 11 years. And he typically gets a 3% cost of living increase every other year or 5 times during that 11 years. Down at the bottom, we enter a present value discount interest rate of 3%. And CaseWORTH projects his future income with his every other year cost of living increase and the amount he would actually make, and reduces it to present value each year based on our 3% up to 2017, 11 years from now, showing that if he worked all of those 11 years, he would earn $334,000, which is worth $279,000 today. You can share this information with the opposing party without hiring an economist through the Future Calculator report. The insurance adjuster can see the details of the loss, the amortization and projection of future damages, and their present value along with the totals. While you may choose to not use this feature in litigation, the CaseWORTH Future Calculator offers an economist at your fingertips during settlement negotiations.